Hello everyone, I am Mrs. Esther Messi. Today I will explain you a poem, The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. Before going into the detail of the poem, let me give you a brief introduction about the poem. This well-known poem is about making choices that shape us. Robert Frost is an American poet who writes simply but insightfully about common ordinary experiences. In the poem, The Road Not Taken, the road symbolizes our life. The poet says that the path that we don't choose in our life is the road not taken. He describes his feeling about that choice that he had left in the past. The path which we have chosen decides our future, our destination. The important message that the poet wants to give is that the choice that we make has an impact on our future, and if we make a wrong choice, we regret it but cannot go back on it. So, we must be wise while making choices. Now, I will read the lines of the poem and explain it to you. First stanza. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry, I could not travel both. And be one traveler, long I stood, and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. Once the poet was walking down a road, and then there was a diversion. There were two different paths, and he had to choose one out of them. The poet says that as he was one person, he could travel on one road only. He had to choose one out of these two roads. Yellow wood means a forest with leaves which are wearing out and they have turned yellow in color. The season of it shows that it is the season of autumn. It represents a world which is full of people where people have been living for many years. They represent people who are older than the poet. The poet kept standing there and looked at the path very carefully as far as he could see it. Before taking the path, he wanted to know how it was. Was it suitable for him or not? He was able to see the path till from where it curved, after which it was covered with trees and was hidden. It happens in our life also. When we have choices, we have alternatives, but we have to choose only one out of them. We take time to think about the pros and cons, whether it is suitable for us or not. And only then we take a decision on what path we should choose. Second stanza. Then took the other just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear. Though as for that, the passing there had worn them really about the same. The poet kept on looking at the one path for a long time to check if it is the right path for him or not. And then he decided and started walking on another path because he felt that the both paths were equally good. He says just as fair, so he felt that both paths were equally good and started walking on one of them. He adds that maybe he felt that the path was better for him, so he chooses it as it had grass on it, which means that it was unused. Not many people had walked on the path earlier, that is why this path was grassy. And wanted wear means that it was not walked over by many people. After he walked on the path for some distance, he realized that both the paths had been worn out the same way. Both the paths were similar and worn out. Even in our life, we take any path or option, but all of them have the same benefits, disadvantages, problems, challenges, and we must face them. We think that we are choosing a better option, but it is not that way. Third stanza. And both that morning equally lay in leaves no step had trodden back. Oh, I kept the first for another day. Yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. The poet says that both the paths were similar that morning. Both had leaves on them, and no one had stepped on them as they were still green in color. He decided that day he would take one path and keep the other path for another day. Although he knew that one way leads to the other way, he knew that he could not go back on the choice that he had made. Similarly, even in our life, once we choose an option, we must keep on moving ahead with that option, and we never get a chance to come back and take the other option that we had left earlier. Fourth stanza. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. He says that in the future he will take a deep breath and say that once upon a time he had reached such a point in life that there were two options for him, and he traveled on that road which has been traveled upon by lesser number of people. Similarly, in future, when you grow up, then you will say that once upon a time when you were young, you had two options. The choices that you made what you become of it. This is a very strong message for all the students that you should be wise and be careful while making choices out of the options that you have in your life, because your future depends on the choices that you make today. I hope you all have understood this poem. Thanks for watching this video.